Hello, everyone. I'm Jordana Van of Ravenlight Holistic Healing, and welcome to a much-needed public service announcement about using emotional wellness to stay healthy during these strange and challenging times. Again, like the last video, this is very casual. This is just something that's kind of been weighing on me for a few days, and I realized I really needed to put this out there. So one of the things that concerned me as we began taking ever more repressive measures to contain the virus, ordering people to stay home and minimize human contact, and two of the consequences of these measures, an ever-growing scarcity mentality and an ever-increasing fear of being unable to pay one's bills or afford what one needs, is that we've created with these measures the precise emotional pattern that created the deadlier aspects of the virus in the first place. An overarching feeling of being smothered or suffocated with no end in sight. So if you read my post or watched my video on the emotional and astrological causes of COVID-19, I explain this in detail, so I'm not going to go into great depth here. If you've not watched it yet, the short version is that prior to the virus, we as a globe had been feeling ever more smothered in numerous ways. For example, one of the big ones was that during the year leading up to the outbreak, most of my clients were reporting feeling ever more trapped by jobs in which they were just going through the motions, in which they were beginning to hate. They were often working so hard that they couldn't catch their breath, but they saw no way out. The body interprets this as feeling stifled by our responsibilities, suffocated. And because the body shows us what we are feeling, so we will finally deal with it and make changes to our lives, voila, we have the coronavirus with its sensation of being unable to breathe. And now we've created another situation of feeling smothered. Needless to say, this is concerning. I am not, repeat, not suggesting that you personally disregard any of the measures that your area has put into place in an attempt to protect its people. Modern medicine is doing the best that it can, and this is what it feels it will help. But it is absolutely critical that you become aware of how you are feeling in the midst of these measures and take steps to deal with those emotions. Otherwise, as you yourself begin to feel more suffocated by a mounting sense of fear around paying your bills, a fear of being unable to get the supplies you and your family need, a fear of what will happen to the world afterwards, a sensation of being trapped in your house, a feeling of being suffocated by the needs of spouses and children from whom you suddenly have no escape, and any other way in which you feel trapped, alone, or in peril of death, you're making yourself more likely to become ill. So what I'm going to do briefly here is talk about a few of the things you can do to keep yourself healthy, which is truly the best and quickest way we can all get through this. The first step, take an honest assessment of how you are feeling. Here is what is not okay. I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, but I am powerless and I just have to deal with it. You think this means that you're feeling okay with everything, that you've made your peace with it, but that's not the case. And with each new confining measure, you just get even angrier and you feel even more suffocated and even more powerless. Eventually, your body's going to go, well, the coronavirus or some other breathing difficulty aligns precisely with how suffocated I feel. And boom, you're sick. What does emotional peace, the kind that will keep you healthy, really look like? Best case scenario, this is the sparkly version that we're all striving for. It is, I am safe. I'm able to flow with these changes. It might be challenging, but I can treat it like a great adventure and a learning experience, and I can thrive. There's a reason for all of this, and I will know exactly what to do to benefit from these experiences. It is also being at peace with what is occurring for others, knowing that the same divine spirit that guides us is looking after them as well. And even if their experiences seem utterly horrendous, that there is still a reason. I talk about this at length in the video I mentioned earlier about the astrological and emotional whys of this virus. When you can understand and accept the why, the whole thing is a whole lot easier to view with compassionate curiosity rather than fear or sorrow or anger. By the way, while I can honestly say that I'm at peace with this whole thing at the moment, this is only true about 90% of the time. The other 10%, I see somebody spreading fear on social media and I get ticked off as hell and I have to deal with my emotions to get my sense of peace back. Very few of us are going to sail through this experience feeling utterly at ease every single moment. The key is to really be aware of how you are feeling and when you're not feeling peaceful, to deal with it. So how do we do this? Well, some of you lovelies really can make an assessment of how you're feeling, note that you're feeling afraid and trapped, give yourself a logical explanation for why everything's going to be okay, and just tell yourself to knock it off. You really can do an instant attitude adjustment. For example, if you didn't already know this, here in the States, the banks and credit card companies are taking measures to allow you to defer your payments. If you can't pay right now, that's okay. Now, you do have to call your bank and credit card companies, guys. Don't just not pay and let the chips fall where they may. But if you've been terrified out of your mind about money, you don't have to be. You don't have to pay those bills. It's okay. And right now, evictions are all on hold. The utilities are not being shut off. You won't get kicked out of your house or lose your electricity or power or gas. So if you've been afraid of about money, and if you're one of those people who can hear all that and go, oh, wow, it's okay, I don't have to be afraid, and then just stop worrying, and then you can just keep feeling that way, doing that until this is over, then awesome, your work is done. Give yourself the same attitude adjustment every time you notice yourself feeling trapped or suffocated by fear, and you'll be fine. But this only works if you can really make yourself feel okay. And that looks like the peaceful, accepting, this is all happening for a reason, and I really do feel fine state of mind that I mentioned earlier. If you're back to, I hate this and I'm scared, no dice. So if you can't give yourself an attitude adjustment, you're going to need to do some emotional work. Guys, I could do an entire video series on this. So what follows is really just what I feel is sufficient to perform the emotional equivalent of triage right now. All of us has within us a perfect link to the divine. You can call it the soul, the spirit, intuition, the higher self, whatever you want. I tend to use higher self. The higher self will tell us unerringly what to do in every situation. And even when things seem to be falling apart, connection with the higher self tells us that we really are right where we're supposed to be. My husband and I have commented again and again and again since this craziness started that it is as though we spent the last year and a half preparing for it. We reorganized our house, paid some things off, had repairs done, made some changes to our jobs and our attitudes. We did all of this unconsciously, simply by following the guidance of our higher self in the way and time we were told to do so. And so in the midst of this chaotic time, things are still working out perfectly. But if you also have this link to the divine, then why the heck do you feel trapped right now or scared? Shouldn't you feel fine? The problem is that all of those emotions you're feeling are so freaking loud that they're preventing you from hearing and honoring your higher self. For example, perhaps you really, really, really didn't want to go to Walmart for toilet paper this morning, but you were so scared you would run out soon that you felt that you should. So you went, the shelves were empty, and now you feel even more frightened. Whereas perhaps if you'd waited until tomorrow, when you actually wanted to go, instead of feeling compelled by fear to go, you'd find a special package of TP just for you. Are you honoring what feels good, which is how the higher self speaks to us, or are you acting from fear? To hear your higher self again, you have to actually let those emotions process. And that means feeling them. This is how the body clears them. When you don't feel them, when you tell yourself you shouldn't have those emotions for any reason, or that you just don't want to deal with them, they just recycle over and over and over within you. And with each new thing that you feel an uncomfortable emotion over, your system becomes more and more crowded. And pretty soon you couldn't hear your higher self if it were shouting with you at a bullhorn. The fear that told you to go to Walmart today was shouting over the higher self going, oh, wait till tomorrow. That's when we're supposed to go. Again, this is the Reader's Digest version here. But to clear these emotions out and to be able to hear your higher self, which will give you a sense of peace about all of this and help you navigate through it effortlessly, you have to feel. So feeling your feelings literally means I feel whatever it is I am feeling without trying to change it, trying to make it stop, or telling myself I shouldn't feel this way for any reason at all. This last bit is particularly important. We love to tell ourselves we shouldn't feel something because we think there's nothing we can do, or we think we're bad people for feeling a certain way. Feelings are not facts, guys. Feeling a certain way doesn't mean anything other than this is the way in which your spirit has interpreted a certain experience, and you haven't gotten over it yet. That's it. It's just trying to tell you that something didn't feel good for you, or it's pointing out where you have a limiting belief about the world and you need to let it go so you can grow. So if you're feeling trapped, feel trapped. If you're feeling scared, feel scared. If you're feeling angry, feel angry. Feel these things for as long as you can until, one, you can't stand it anymore, in which case you make a promise to go back and do it again later in the day. Or two, the feeling really does just vanish. Often we feel kind of a muzzy sense when this happens, and we suddenly realize we don't even remember what we were thinking about. At this point, we're still conscious of the situation that was making us feel a certain way, but inexplicably, we just don't care anymore. We feel a sense of peace. We know we'll be okay, no matter what. Two, many of you in this space will also have a sudden, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do moment. Something that guides you to take a new and positive action you wouldn't have otherwise. You don't have to know exactly what you are feeling to do this. In fact, with clients, I've been trying to use the word sensation more often. What sensation do you feel when you think about being stuck in your home, or running out of food, or being unable to pay your bills, or what's happening to others? Then you don't need to identify the emotion. You just let yourself feel that particular tension within the self until it ceases, the sensation. Now, even after you let something go, you may have to feel it again. Sometimes this stuff comes back. It's a lot like peeling an onion. You process a sensation, and then you have to deal with the next layer, a new sensation. As I said, I only tend to be able to stay in the it's all fine, I'm flowing with the changes, and I'm genuinely joyful place about 90% of the time. After I check Facebook, I get freshly worked up, so I have to go back and feel again. Also, you may have a lot of emotion to process and simply not be able to do it in one go. I describe this work to clients like draining a swimming pool. If the water in the swimming pool is all of those emotions recycling inside you, and you pull the plug for 5 minutes and then you put the plug back in, you've still got a whole freaking pool of emotion there. 5 minutes may simply not cut it. You may have to hang in there for 10 or 15 or for an hour, maybe longer. It depends on the depth of emotion in your pool. This really does work, guys. I don't get the flu, I don't have allergies, and the one chest cold I got several years ago, I know precisely why I got. I was suffocating myself with my own self-judgments, and the cold, which started with a tightness in my chest and a difficulty taking a full breath, forced me to let those things go. I used to get the flu every few years. I had terrible allergies, and my life was an unending sinus infection. Since I learned how to feel through my emotions and let them go, those things have gone and not returned. And that was the only change I made. So let's say you're doing your emotional work. What else can you do to help speed a return to wellness? First, when you're worried about other people, feel all the feelings around this, and then find a way to serve. I cannot stress what kind of wonders this works for our minds and bodies. Sit down with your kids and color a picture for everyone in the neighborhood. Put your Christmas lights back up. Call your local school district and ask if they need more volunteers to hand out food to students, if that's something your area is doing. Your local homeless shelter or church may need help for similar reasons. Call a friend that you're worried about. A phone call is 1,000 times more powerful than a text or a social media message. If you're taking some kind of action to help, it's going to moderate your own stress levels because you'll be reminded of how many wonderful, giving people there are out there and how we really are taking care of each other. Second, if you can get outside, get outside. Breathe. Take in oxygen. Remember the problems that we're feeling stifled. If you're close to nature, take advantage of it. The natural world has a wonderful way of calming and reassuring us. It also gets us away from sitting in front of our televisions or computers just soaking up more fear. 2, movement really is critical for our emotional well-being. Exercise of any kind releases some lovely feel-good hormones. So take a walk around the block if you can. Do jumping jacks on your balcony, or do just a few trips up and down the stairs outside your building. 3rd, if you don't have houseplants, get some. If you feel that you're suffocating, there is nothing like bringing in some happy little air makers to keep you company. I have over 20 houseplants in my house. If you have cats, like I do, you'll need to be creative about where you put them, but it can be done and it makes a huge difference. Again, these are not supposed to substitute for feeling through your feelings, but they will help you while you do so. Guys, a huge part of the reason that this is all happening is to break us out of limiting beliefs we have held about ourselves and life in general. And much of that is accomplished through facing how we really feel. Most of us wouldn't do this unless we had to. And after you've watched everything Netflix has to offer and reached the end of the internet and have otherwise exhausted everything you would normally have done to keep you distracted, Well, what else are you going to begin to do but take an honest look at the quality of your own thoughts? We're being forced to be still and examine our lives. 2, we have needed for some time to smash through the walls we've been building between ourselves and others. People don't know how to interact in person anymore. When we come out of this, it's a good bet that we won't feel anywhere near as afraid of other people as we used to. We'll hunger for intimate, face-to-face contact, for real, live conversation rather than the edited version allowed by text. But if we're going to be our real selves, when we begin making contact with others, we've got to take time to find out who that is. And that, again, means moving through our emotional hangups and letting them go. You've got this. Feel your feelings, get out and enjoy nature, serve others, and stay healthy. Love you guys.